Welcome to Concourse Financial Software Explained. As a financial services provider, you depend on software that will handle all back-office processing for your electronic payment transactions quickly, reliably, and cost-effectively. The Concourse Financial Software Suite is one of the most powerful and flexible solutions on the market today. It includes 5 modular products: Concourse Core, Concourse Fees and Commissions, Concourse Disputes, Concourse Reconciliation, and Concourse Extended Settlement. In this video, we'll explain how these modules fit together to provide a cohesive and integrated back-office solution for electronic payments. You'll learn how Concourse benefits financial service companies such as banks, networks, merchants, and third-party processors. You'll also learn how it supports any type of electronic transaction, including credit, debit, ATM, Internet, and mobile. For the sake of illustration, we're going to take a look at a bank. We'll call it Bank A. We're going to follow a credit card transaction through Bank A's back-office processing environment. Here is Joe, using a credit card to place an online order. This generates a financial request that is sent to the EFT cloud. The EFT cloud is made up of card associations, networks, and processors. Within seconds, the financial request is appropriately routed, and approval is returned through the EFT cloud, and the transaction is completed. This is when the real work begins in the back office of Bank A. Bank A has to perform many back-office functions each time an electronic payment transaction occurs. In the real world, these functions are performed by one or more back-office systems. However, for the sake of illustration, we're going to show these functions being performed by individual employees at Bank A. Meet Mr. Core. His title at Bank A is Head of Transaction Data. Mr. Core has the important job of continually receiving and linking transactions from all of Bank A's data sources. This task is not easy because Bank A's transactions are coming from many different sources. Mr. Core works hard because he knows that everyone else in the back office depends on this data to do their jobs. This is Mrs. Fee. Her title is Head of Fee Assessment. Mrs. Fee is in charge of calculating and processing fees for each transaction. This includes any type of fee, such as interchange, gateway, and processing fees. Mrs. Fee also calculates any type of commission, royalty, or rebate that is associated with the transaction. Allow us to introduce Mr. Dispute, the head of chargeback workflow. When a transaction is disputed, Mr. Dispute is in charge of managing all dispute-related activities, such as adjustments, chargebacks, and representments. This is not an easy job because dispute regulations are complicated and very time-sensitive. Now, let's meet Miss Recon, who heads up transaction balancing. Miss Recon is focused on comparing the transactions from all of Bank A's data sources to determine if they match. She spends her time performing equivalency checks and identifying discrepancies. This is important because Bank A wants to validate transaction balancing between the different data sources. Lastly, this is Mr. Settlement. He is head of funds movement. When funds are ready to be moved, Mr. Settlement is responsible for successfully and accurately distributing funds to all the transaction participants. Mr. Settlement is always under strict deadlines because funds movement must occur within very specific time windows. In our example, Mrs. Fee, Mr. Dispute, Miss Recon, and Mr. Settlement work out of separate offices. Notice there are no doors to connect their offices. As a result, the back-office employees cannot communicate with each other. This demonstrates a back-office environment where functions are performed by separate systems that do not work together. Now, let's look at a back-office environment that uses the Concourse Financial Software Suite. Notice how each office has a doorway to Mr. Core's center office. Because of Mr. Core's open door policy, these doors remain open all of the time. As a result, employees have access to one another. In essence, Concourse brings all back-office functions together into one cohesive and integrated system. This allows companies to perform back-office processing and reporting more efficiently, reliably, and cost-effectively. To illustrate, let's take a look at the credit card transaction we mentioned earlier and how it will move through the Concourse Financial Software Suite. If you recall, Joe used a credit card to place an online order. Once Joe's order was completed, the transaction data was sent to Bank A's authorization system. At this point, Mr. Core automatically receives the transaction data from the bank's authorization system along with data from the credit card network. Mr. Core then links the data together and makes it available to all the other back-office employees at Bank A. Let's take a closer look at Joe's transaction. 1.5% of the total transaction amount needs to be assessed against the online merchant as an interchange fee. Also, the online merchant needs to receive a commission of 25% of the processing and handling fee that was charged to the cardholder. As a result, Mrs. Fee accesses the transaction data made available by Mr. Core, assigns the appropriate fee and commission, and passes this information to Mr. Settlement. Now, let's take a look at what happens if Joe gets charged for the merchandise but never receives it. Naturally, Joe will dispute the transaction with Bank A. In this case, Mr. Dispute will access the transaction data from Mr. Core and the fee data from Mrs. Fee. He will then facilitate all disputes-related activities between the online merchant and the credit card issuer until the dispute claim is successfully resolved. Ms. Recon accesses the data made available by Mr. Core and automatically performs the necessary equivalency checks. This validates whether or not the data from Bank A's authorization system and the data from the credit card network are equivalent. Ms. Recon also identifies discrepancies so Mr. Dispute can do his job more efficiently. Mr. Settlement accesses the transaction activity details from Mr. Core, the fees and commissions from Mrs. Fee, and the chargeback data from Mr. Dispute. He then creates the funds movement instructions so the appropriate amounts are debited and credited to the proper accounts. All of this back-office processing is done in near real time with one integrated solution, the Concourse Financial Software Suite. This is good because Bank A is able to access current information from all transaction sources, search data using a secure browser-based viewer, see the complete life cycle of any transaction, interplay between all Concourse product modules, complete back-office processing quickly and reliably, create online and downloadable reports in no time, meet shorter service level agreement windows, easily configure the system to meet changing business needs. Bottom line, the Concourse Financial Software Suite creates a fast and agile back-office processing environment that will meet Bank A's needs well into the future. Like Bank A, your company can experience a healthier bottom line due to the improved efficiency and flexibility afforded by Concourse. Contact BHMI today to learn more about how the Concourse Financial Software Suite can add value to your back-office processing environment. This has been Concourse Financial Software Explained. For more information about the Concourse Financial Software Suite, please visit ConcourseFinancialSoftware.com.